Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Top Stitches. If this is your first time coming across us, you're highly welcome. Please do consider subscribing, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we'll be learning how to cut and sew these notch collar blazers. The cutting and the sewing video all in one. Please stick around. So these are the two material. I have this plain black material and then the plain red material. I'll be combining them just like you saw on the screen a while ago. So these are the measurements I'll be needing, and then I have my pattern paper for drafting. So from the start of this pattern paper, I'll place my tape rule down to 10 inches will be my bust line, 17 inches will be my waistline, 25-inch my hip line, and then the full length, which is 28 inches. I'll go ahead and mark those measurements in two places to enable me get a straight line. So I'll go ahead and connect them. So after connecting, it's time to start inputting all other measurements. I have my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I am placing my tape rule from the center front to mark it. On that marking that I have, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So after that, I'm marking 3 inch for my neck width and then 1 inch for my neck depth. This is the back block. So 1 inch for the neck depth and 3 inch for the neck width. So I'm going to go ahead and connect from my neck width to the shoulder slope of 1 inch step down, and then I am going to curve my neckline, the neckline for the back. So do that for yours just like you can see me doing. Don't make it too deep or too shallow. You will know why in a second. So from my shoulder slope, I'm going to be inputting 8 inch, which is my round armhole, or you can do your bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. Mine is 8 inches. That is what you can see me inputting there. And I made a line across, and then I'm going to rule that line just like you can see me doing. So that line now I'll call my chest line. The next line is my bust line. The next one is my waistline, then my hip line, and then the full length of these blazers. So the next thing now is to get the midpoint of my armhole line. So after getting the midpoint, on that point I'm going to be coming in by 0.25 inches, and I'll come in and connect it like you can see me doing. So on the chest line, I'll be inputting my bust measurement divided by 4, just for a guide to get a nice smooth curve for my armhole. So after this now, on the waistline, I'll be coming in by 0.5 inch. This is to contour the back area. Our back is not straight, right? So I'll do this, connect from the chest line down to that point, and then take it down to the hip line. This will eliminate that bulge at the back. So after this, I'll come in with my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inch, which is 8 inch divided by 2 is 4 inch. That is what you can see me inputting there. I took it all the way down, and I'm going to use a rule and connect it. So after this, on both sides of that line on the waistline, I'll be coming in by 0.5 inch for my dart, and on the hip line I'm going to come up by 2 inches. So for where it will be starting, it will be on my chest line, so I'm going ahead to extend that line, and I'll connect it like you can see me doing. So do that for yours. This is just a regular waist dart. So after this now, I'll go ahead and impute my circumference measurement divided by 4. For my waist, I'm going to divide by 4 and impute it, then replace my dart of 1 inch. I'll do that for my hip also. Divide by 4 and place it there, and whatever I have for that hip line, I'll impute it at the hem. So after that, I'll go ahead and add 1 inch allowance to all the circumference measurement divided by 4 and then connect it. So connect yours like you can see me doing. And after that, for my shoulder dart, I'll just get the midpoint of what I have on my shoulder slope line and place a mark there. Then extend the dart leg from my chest line to that point. So after this now, this is where I'll be excluding. This is my dart. This right here also is a dart, and it's time to cut. I'll go ahead and cut it out. Just follow what I am doing and you'll get it right. So cut through the dart and then exclude this part. Exclude the waist dart also. And then I'll come in and label it center back and then side back. So after doing this, I'll come in with another fresh pattern paper for my front bodies. So for this front bodies, you'll be needing some allowance at the center front and then at the starting. So for mine, I have 5 inch and then 5 inch at the top part, and then for the center I have, I think, about 4 inches. So it is from that line that all other measurements are going to be starting from. So from that line, I'm placing my tape rule to mark my 10-inch bust line, 17-inch waist line, 25-inch hip line, and then the full length, which is 28 inches. I'll go ahead and make a mark across it, just same thing we have for the back bodies. So after this, the first thing I will be imputing is half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. That is what you can see me doing. Remember that all other measurements are going to be starting from that line that we made. So I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and for my neck width it still remains 3 inches, but for the neck depth it is 3 inches for those fronts. I'll go ahead and connect my shoulder slope and then come down for my armhole. So after that, what you can see me doing now is connecting my front neck curve. So after that, now I'll be imputing my 8 inch just like we had for the front, for the back, sorry, for my armhole opening, right? So I'll go ahead and connect it like you can see me doing. Make a line across that place. So I'll label it my chest line, my bust line, my waist line, my hip line, and then the full length. So on that armhole line, I'm going to find the midpoint, and on that midpoint for this front, I'll be coming in by 0.5 inch. So on the chest line, I'll impute my bust measurement divided by my bust circumference measurement divided by 4, and I'll go ahead and connect from my shoulder slope to my 0.5 inch step in, and then with a curve to my chest line. So after this, now it's time to impute my half of my nipple to nipple measurement for my dart. So connect it like you can see me doing, and on the waistline I came in by 0.5 inch on both sides. On the hip line, come up by 2 inches, and on the bust line, come down by 0.5 inch, and then connect it like you can see me doing. On the shoulder slope line, divide what you have there and connect it. So what you can see me marking now is 1 inch for my button allowance, and I'm going to take it all the way down from the center front, that allowance that we left there, right? So mark 1 inch for the button allowance. So that is what you can see me marking and connecting now with a straight line. I'm just going to stop it at the neck, at the neckline, at the neck depth line, right? So I'll go ahead and extend my waistline so that I'll be able to mark where I want my break point to be. I want it 1.5 inch above my waistline. So from that point, I'll come in and connect it to the neck width. This is that part that folds right in front of the jacket. It is called the lapel, right? So for the width of this lapel, I want it to be 2.5 inch. That is what you can see me marking now. I'll simply go ahead and extend it and connect it to my break point. So connect it like this, and it is coming along. So for the collar, I'll simply go ahead and extend this line that you can see me doing now, and on that line I will measure what I have on my back, neck curve. I'll measure it, just taking my time. I have 3.5, and on that line I'll place my 3.5 and mark. So after marking it now, just because that measurement I took now is not straight, I'm going to come in by 0.5 inch, and I'll use a curve rule and connect it so that when I am attaching it back, it sits perfectly. So do that for yours. So for now, I'll be using that curved line and not this straight one. So from there now, I'll draw a line diagonally, not straight. So I'll draw that line like this so that it will be sitting perfectly on my neck. So the width of this collar, I want it to be 4 inches. That is what you can see me marking on that line. So for the notched part, on that area that you can see me putting my hand now, I'll mark 1 inch. So that is where my notch will be. And for this, I'll just extend it by 1 inch also, and then connect it to my 4 inches width. So do that for yours. For that notched collar part, it can be any, you can use more than 1 inch. So now I'll just come in and input my circumference measurement divided by 4, and then I'll come in and add all my allowance. First of all, I'll replace my waist dart and then add my allowance, and after that I'll connect it. So this is it for the front panel. I'll come in and then cut it out. So follow what I am doing so that you get yours. So at this point, I'm going to come in and notch that part because I'll be transferring it on my fabric when I place this pattern to cut out on my fabric. That notched part, right? Very important. Please take note of it. So I'll continue cutting out. And then for my collar, this part will be on fold, that part that I placed that box now, right? It will be on fold while cutting on my fabric. So I'll exclude my dart, and then this is it. I'll, I'll come in and label center front and then side front, and this is the material that I'm going to be using to cut it. The red material I'll use and cut the lining for the center front. I have my interfacing and then my lining. I'll cut on my main fabric, add my interfacing on all the fabric, both the lining and then the main bodies. So I'll go and cut my lining, my main bodies, iron my interfacing, come back so that we'll continue. So just before I start cutting on my fabric, I want to curve my center front. So upwards I marked 4 inch, and then I am curving it to the other end, just like you can see me doing. I'll go ahead and cut it out and then go and cut on my fabric. So this is it right here. As you can see, I have all my necessary allowance, and I have 4 pieces for each, 2 for my lining and then 2 for my main fabric. For this collar, I have the red material for my collar and then my lining, and for each I added my interfacing. So for the center front, I have it right here, and for the lining I use the red fabric. I'll just unpin and show us how to attach it back. I have all the vertical point notches, right? You can see them right there. I have all my notches, though very invisible because it's very tiny, but it is right there. So I am placing the notched parts against each other to pin. So I'll do that for all of them, both the main bodies and the lining piece. So align all the notched parts and pin it so that when you're on your machine, it's just the sewing game. I'll do that for the back block also. Unpin and remove my patterns, and then pin while aligning the notch parts, all my notches for both the main bodies and then the lining piece. So place it right sides facing each other and pin. So take your time so that when you're on your machine, there is no need of cracking your brain again, right? So after pinning, I will go and join with the allowance that I have there, 1/2 inch, and then I'll come back and show us. This is it right here after sewing, and then I notched and ironed all my seams flat. This is it right here for both the main bodies and the lining. Now for my center back, I will go and join it also. I have some allowance there, right? So I will join with the allowance that I have for both the main fabric and the lining piece, and then I will iron it flat also. After joining, iron it flat so that we will continue. And just after doing that, this is what I will be having. So now it's time to join the main bodies at the shoulder and then the lining also. So place the right sides facing each other and then join it at the shoulder. I'll do that for the main bodies and then for the lining piece also. Place right sides facing each other, align it properly and go and sew on the shoulder with the allowance that you have there. I'll do that and come back and show us. This is it right here. This is the lining piece and this is the main bodies. So this is it right here. So at this point it's time to attach the collar. So I'll simply just notch that area, the part that will be sitting on the back neckline. I'll just place a notch there, even though I have my line from ironing it, but I'll just place a notch there so that it will be easier for me to recognize. So I have my center joining for my main bodies and I'll align it properly and then pin it. So for the notch that I asked us to transfer, this is it for mine. That is where the collar is going to be starting from. So now I aligned it and I pinned it down. So if everything is done correctly, when joining, everything will align properly, just like mine. So I'll do that for the second part also, pin at the middle and then the starting point, and I will go and sew it down. This part is not really the easiest part to sew, so you have to take your time while doing that. After that, this is what it should be looking like. This here is my lining piece and then this is the main bodies. So now it's time to notch. It's curvy, right? So you have to notch so that it is well relaxed. So I'm coming in to notch. Take your time while notching so that you don't go cutting your thread, right? So give it a notch and I'll also notch the lining piece also. Notch it all the way around. And after everything, this is what I will be having. So it's time to join the main bodies and the lining piece. So still having my crease line as my guide, I will pin and then sew. If everything is done correctly at this point, it will just be a walk in the park to sew up this part. So I will join one side and then do same thing for the other part also. So do same thing for the other side. Align all the seams properly and then sew it down with your 0.5 inch that you have for joining it. So after that, this is what it should look like. So for the pointy edge, I'll use my scissors or any sharp object, any pointy object, sorry, to push it out. So please don't forget to give them notches on the inside so that it is well relaxed. So this is it. This is what it should be looking like. So now it's time to shape it. So you'll be shaping the main body separately and then the lining separately. I have 1 inch for my allowance, so I will go and sew with my 1 inch. Remember, main fabric to main fabric, and then lining to lining. Shape with your 1 inch, and then I will finish up the hem also. I'll finish up the hem and then come back and show us what it looks like. So this is it right here. This is my 1 inch, as you can see. So while finishing up the hem, please remember to open up all your seams so that it's not bulky on one side. This is what it should look like on the right side. So the different color fabric that you use for the center front lining will be the lapel and then the collar. I'll just simply give it a small press so that we'll see what it looks like. This is it right here. And for this lapel, remember to use your pattern paper as a reference so that you will know where you should bend and then iron down, right? So for mine, I think the length is about 12.5 inch or thereabout. Yes, that is what I ironed down, right? 12.5 inches. So this is it right here. If at this point you haven't subscribed, please do that. Like and share my videos. Also remember to turn on your post notification bell. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.